Welcome to Just Crafting Around. Today we are going to be doing some crafts, and what they are going to be is back to school crafts. Here we have where we made a J for Jaden. We put his name in here. This is just a plain clipboard, just like what this is. And then also right here we have just a plain hanger for pants or skirts or whatever. What we are going to do with this is show you how you can make your kids' art project, put it in their room. You can hang it up when they bring home any art projects from school, or if they just even want to color out of a coloring book. Sometimes you don't have the places to put them. Well, now we're going to show you what you can do. First off, you're going to need some items here. You're going to need to have some scissors available. We do have the paint colors that we've chosen. We are using Mod Podge, and we're going to be using that on our surface to glue. You're going to need to choose and pick out some paper that you want. Unless you want to just use all kinds of the different colors of paint, you can surely do that as well. I did go into the store and we did choose some different colors right here for the boys, and I chose the pink striped and the plain pink for the girl. Also, what you're going to need to do is take a picture of the person who you are going to be making these for, the little people. What I did was I took them and I saved them to a drive, and I went into Target and I actually had the 2x3 printed out. So what you're going to do is you're going to get what this looks like right here with 4 different pictures on here. And it's nice because if you make a mistake, you still have 3 to go that you can use. I also went and I found some cute little buttons to use. This of course is for the girls, and you can use the different stuff for the boys. A lot of this stuff, in fact almost all of it, I found at Hobby Lobby. You're going to need some brushes, different kinds of brushes. Whatever letters you want to use here to finish. I did use the wood letters, and what we did was we took these and we actually painted them. You're going to use to find a big letter that you want to use. And we are going to add some sparkle to the letters because this is for a girl named Riley who likes pink and yellow, and also a glue gun. And don't forget the coffee. Okay, as always, what I have done is I've laid some wax paper down here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to paint the sides of the letter, and I'm going to paint the back of the letter. And the reason I'm painting the back, you can either paint the back of the letter or you can take your scrapbooking paper and put it on the back, but I'm going to elect to actually paint the back of this. So when it's hanging up, you can't see the back. The back at least has some kind of a color to it. So what I did was I went and I chose the colors that I wanted to use, and I got actually 2 of each. Just in case I make a mistake, I have 1 more sheet left. So I chose these colors to use right here. And then I went and I tried to look for a paint color that pretty matched the pink, because my letters are quite big, and of course the paper is not big enough. So I didn't want to cut and paste, so I thought, well, what we'll do is we'll just paint what's left on the bottom. So we're going to take this, and as always, I use wax paper so I don't make a really big mess. Turn it this way. We're going to lay it down, and then we're going to paint. There's different steps to all of this, so some of it I've painted before, and some of it I have not. What I'm going to do is just put some of the paint right on here. Just to save us some time, I didn't paint everything. But I do. If you get some paint on the front of it, it's no problem. It's not a big deal. And I'm going to use this type of a brush. This here is the sponge brush that I'm using, but I'm going to go quite fast on this. I try to stay within the grain. Go with the grain of the wood. Now, this wood with the letter is very dry, so it's really going to soak up your paint, and it's not going to take that long for it to dry. Now remember, we want to get the opposite side that you want, so we turn this around, and like I said, we also want to get the sides of the paint. I don't want to make sure we get the sides and stuff, because I don't want people to look at it from the side and see wood. I'm going to go around here, and we're making this for a little girl named Riley, Marcia Hoover's granddaughter. And like I said, this is for when they go to preschool and they make different art projects and stuff, so that you really have somewhere that you can hang them and display it. They're proud of them and they want to show them off as well. So we've got the back of this done. Now we are going to, and I'm only going to coat this once. I'm not going to coat it twice. I'm only going to coat it once because like I said, it is for the back. All the way around here. This is the tedious part, is the actual painting of this. Especially when you've got the different kinds of lines and stuff on here. And like I said, this wood is very, very dry wood, so don't be surprised if you need to go in and get more paint than what you smear out of here. We're also, to get rid of the bumps and stuff of painting on one side and adding the scrapbooking paper to the other, what we're going to do is we are going to take a piece of sandpaper and we're just going to kind of sand it down so that you can't see where the paint meets the paper. So we'll get all of that sanded down really good. Or while it's drying, what we'll do is we will work on our next project, which is the clipboard. And then while we're waiting for the clipboard to dry, hopefully this will be dry enough so we can continue this project. And if not, we will go to the pants hanger one, which I think is so cool. Plus it doesn't take much time, and that's going to be, that one project is easy to do and not very time consuming. I do like these brushes. These foam brushes are very nice to use. The other thing that I found out while I was doing Jaden's is we usually use this here brand of paint, the Americana paint. And I did find out I like that paint much better than the one that we used for Jaden's. The one that I used for Jaden's was awful thick and it just didn't seem to coat very nicely. Even though it was a very thick paint, it still didn't coat very nice. So I do really like this paint. You can see I'm going to need just a little bit more, and I'm just going to put a dab here. A little dab of paint on these sponge brushes goes a long way. And like I said, there are some little rough edges and stuff here, but what we're going to do is we're going to wait until we have everything on there, till the paint is dry. We're also going to wait until we have the scrapbooking paper on there, and then we're going to take some of those little rough edges down. Okay, so we've got the sides done. We've got the back of the R completed. If you miss any spots, we're going to check just to make sure we didn't miss any too badly. And it looks like we are good to go here. So we're going to put this to the side, let it dry, and it won't take long till we're ready to use it, to begin our process. Now we are going to work on our clipboard. And this was just plain colored clipboard like this. And again, what I did with it, I painted the sides here, painted the back, so when you hang it, you can't see the wood in the back. And I painted down this far. The reason I painted down this far is because if you take a look at it, if you're going to take your scrapbooking paper and glue it on here, what's going to end up happening is you're really going to have to make some cuts, and I didn't want to make those cuts. I figured if I bring it up to as far as what I can here, it's still going to be nice enough to be able to put their project and stuff on here. I didn't want to cut because, like I said, it'd be a lot of cutting and too much preciseness. And I want to keep them together because Jaden and Riley are brother and sister. So if they're hung in the same place, I want to kind of keep my design the same. You can do whatever you want. Like I said, there's so many things out there now that you can take and you can use as embellishments on here. However you want to do it, that is just fine. Okay, so now we have this ready. I've taken a piece of paper towel. I've already wiped this down and we have it ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I want to use the plain pink color. And as you can see, the pinks and the pinks match pretty good. They don't match perfect, but I don't really want them to. I found it easier to mark up as high as where I'm going to go versus cutting this and then putting it on here. So what I do is I'm going to mark up as far as I need to go so that I know where I'm going to put my Mod Podge and how far up I want to go with that. If you don't get up far enough, you can always just peel this back a little bit, take a brush with Mod Podge and put it up against there. That'll be fine. And again, any imperfections that we have, like right here at the corner and different places like this, I'm going to take some fine sandpaper and an emery board and I'm going to kind of sand it off a little bit anyway. So I'm really not too worried. We know that we want to get at least up to this edge here. So we're going to bring the paper, the crafting paper, right up to this edge, right up to this corner right here. Take some Mod Podge. And the thing with this is when you're using this and you spread it on here, spread it on, and what I've learned is to be patient and to wait. Just give it a little bit of time until you can see that the whiteness is kind of left and it's more tacky than it is anything. That's when you want to put your paper on here. If you're going to be too much in a hurry and you put your paper down, you're going to end up with a lot of bubbles, and we don't want that to happen. I'm going to use, again, a sponge brush to get it all on. And like I said, I'm going to go up to the sides here, and I'm going to put it on. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little brush here, a little sponge brush, and we are going to get started. Like I say, if you don't get far enough with this, you can always, once it's dried a little bit, you can go back and you can add some Mod Podge with another brush, an angled brush preferably, and get way to the sides. Again, I'm not so worried about it going off to the side because I am going to take some fine paper, sandpaper, and an emery board, and I am going to be taking that and going around the edges and also a little bit on the top. And how much should you put on here? I put on enough to where I think it'll glue down good and stay down good. I'm going to get out to the sides. I'm just going to wait for just a little bit for it to get tacky. And again, we're not going to worry if it goes up on the top a little bit too far. No worries. That can all be taken care of. I've learned with crafting, you don't have to be so precise. Now the other thing that I found that I use quite a bit, and especially in my house if I'm going to be doing any kinds of projects or anything like that, and especially using any kind of glues, and if you're using craft paper or anything like that, get yourself a roller. This roller, I use this all the time. It rolls out the bubbles, it rolls the stuff to lay down nice on. It's just very, very good. Use it quite often. Okay, so now I'm going to take this paper, and what I want to do is I want to get it as close to the top here as I possibly can. And that is about even in where I want it. And then I'm going to start rolling it like this with my hand just a little bit to get it down and get it laying on here. And then I'm going to take the roller and I'm going to roll out any bubbles that there are. And there's some bubbles on here. And And I'm going to roll those out as best I can. Sometimes you have to roll pretty hard to get those out. Once it gets tacky and it's on, it's pretty much on. You can't lift it off to check it, to see. As you can see right here, I didn't put enough Mod Podge on here. So we're going to go back, we're going to lift this up a little bit, and we are going to add a little bit more. Also, if there's a couple bubbles and stuff on there, wait till it dries. Those could easily go away once it's dried. Okay, now we're going to go back. We are going to take our sponge brush, a little bit of Mod Podge here, and we're going to get the bottom right down here where it didn't glue on very good. Wait a little bit, let it get nice and tacky. And we're going to roll it back down and roll it out. We go, and we're going to put this to the side and we're going to let it dry. Check our sides here to make sure that it's tacked on good, and it is. And what I like to do is the longer you can let it dry, the better. It doesn't normally take very long, but when you're using scrapbooking paper, I like it to dry. I'll probably let this dry overnight. Come back and finish her off. Okay, put this over to the side. And while this is still drying a little bit, we're going to start our next project. And our next project is the hanger, which is this right here. What this is used for is to put your pants in or your skirts in. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to do the same thing as I did with Jaden's. I am going to take the fine sandpaper. We're just going to sand off just a little bit, not a whole lot, because it's got some varnish and stuff on here. So we're going to sand her down. Sand down the bottom, tops a little bit, and we're not going to forget about the sides. And we're going to paint this whole thing. I'm going to paint the inside of this too, because when I closed it, I noticed that you can still see the inside of it a little bit. So, now that we're done with that.
Stay in and stay cool with video TV service from Valley. Sign up now and save up to $55 on installation, plus receive 1 month of service free. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
So once you get done sanding it, you can take a paper towel. I just damp in the paper towel just slightly. Wipe it off because you're going to have some residue. A little bit of wood residue from the sanding part. And again, I just sanded it so that the paint would have something to adhere to. We're going to stick with our pink theme. Here we go. wax paper because we're going to be into our painting. I'm going to paint the outside and the inside of this while we're waiting for our other stuff to dry. Let it open here. And again, you don't have to worry much about this because what we're going to do here is, again, I'm only going to paint it once. I'm going to coat it one time. And then once it dries, I'm going to take the fine sandpaper after it again a little bit so that I do cover up my imperfections. To me, sanding stuff and also not only sanding it, but kind of making it, roughen it up a little bit, does hide all the imperfections and stuff that you may have. And again, you don't have to. It's just something that goes better with my decor in my house. When I saw this on Pinterest, I thought, boy, this was a good idea. I wish I would have had something like that when my kids were bringing home all their schoolwork and art projects. And this is another thing that you can do. If your child is getting good grades and you want to show them off, you certainly don't need to do this just for artwork. You can do this for grades. You can actually use this as a bulletin board if you need something to remind you that you have to do something. You can hang that up. You can do child's, if you have a list for them that they have to do every week, like clean their room or do dishes or anything like that. You can use this as a reminder tool as well and just put a note on there. But I did think this was pretty neat. And it looked easy enough to do, and trust me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I am not by far a craft guru. I see a lot of things that I like, but haven't attempted a lot of them because some of them call for power tools and I'm not the best at that. Although I am going to start learning how to use those a little bit better. Wondering who to do these for, and then Grandma Marcia came up with an idea that she thought Riley and Jaden could use this, so they are going to be our little victims today. If you do get on the wire, don't worry about it because when the paint dries, all you have to do is take your fingernail and it comes right off the wire part of it. And I did have to do that when I did Jaden's. Because no matter how careful you get, you still have some little imperfections that we take care of. A lot of drying time for this project this month. Lots of drying time. You paint and you wait. You glue and you wait. Everything's got its own little project. Okay. Now we will let this set and dry. Put that over here to the side. We're going to put this up on top. We're going to let this dry. Now the bottom I did before, so that should be pretty dry, and this part should be pretty dry. So we're going to put it down like this. And if we need to touch up, we can do that. We can touch up once everything has dried really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on our lettering. Because we are going to coat this the second time. What I did was took the rest of Riley's letters, and what we're going to do is we're going to coat them the second time. And once we've coated them with the paint, we're going to come across and we are going to sprinkle some glitter on there. because what does every girl like? But glitter. I don't care how old you are, glitter is always good. So, then we're going to use the wax paper. Going to find our yellow paint that we used. Put the rest of the letters up on top here. And of course, the letters, you don't have to do the back part of the letters, because what we're going to do is we're going to use hot glue, and we are going to glue them like we did with Jaden over here. R-Y-L-E-E. Okay. Oops. I'm going to take one of my angled brushes. I really like these brushes that are angled. Absolutely love them. So if you have to do anything that needs to be angled around the curves or something like this, be sure and get yourself some brushes like that. And of course, we will have our glitter. I think this is really cool. Nowadays you can buy the glitter, and in the glitter it's in a shaker, so you can shake it out with the top that has the holes and stuff in it. I think that is so cool compared to back in my day when they had the glitter, and all they had was a big open space, and when you went like this, it all fell out. Where this way you have at least a little bit of control. Okay, we're going to take some of our yellow, and we are going to paint the L. And as soon as that's painted, we're going to take some of the sprinkles, and while the paint is still dry, I'm going to add to that, and we are going to keep going. We're still going to take our thin sandpaper or an emery board and go around these letters a little bit. Not very much, but we want to just give it just a little bit of a, take it, kind of shake off the excess so we don't get too much on there. And then it still sticks. It's nice because this will still stick, and then you don't have to put glue on the letters because it's going to stick to the paint. So you don't have to put the glue on there. You can just use the paint, and the paint will help it stick. Last one. Shake off the excess. And now we'll be done. The only bad thing about this is now you've got glitter all over your hands. We're going to take this. Of course, we're going to put this to the side. We're going to check our R, and we will see if that is ready. Once that is ready to go, we can start putting our paper on there. We use the Mod Podge again. Make it strong enough. Now with Jaden's, we decided to have the stripes go the long way across. So we're going to do the same with Riley's, because like I said, they are brother and sister, and that way if they're hung together, they look the same. So you can do it differently if you wish. This is just the way that we decided to do this. And again, I am not going to cut this out. I'm just going to put the Mod Podge on there, wait for a little bit, wait for it to dry just a little bit, and then we are going to take our full sheet like this, lay it over the top like this, and then you can see down here where we are going to need to go and actually paint the rest of it. I want to get it as close up here as what I possibly can so that I don't have so much to cut off, because you're still going to have to be going in there and cutting. I suggest using a very good sharp scissor and cutting along the edges, and then also have what's called an X-Acto knife. This is very sharp, but if you need to get into the little crevices and the little things like this, the X-Acto knife is what you really want. So I'm going to kind of measure this out a little bit. This all looks good. And like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to wipe the letter off. Now we're going to add the Mod Podge. Let's see, I have it in this one. And again, don't worry about getting too much of it on the side. We're not going to worry about that because we're going to come along and take it off the side with our emery board and our sandpaper. And you want to get enough on there that it's going to be so that it sticks good, but yet you don't want to get too much on there because you don't want it to soak through so terrible bad either. So we're going to just kind of make your own judgment call. Actually, when I started this project, I started out with the R and ended up making a mess out of it, and I had to start all over again. So, not everything goes right the first time around. When I did the R, that just went so much more smoothly. So I'm hoping that the R, or doing the J, turned out so smoothly. I'm hoping that this R does now too, because like I said, the first time I tried it, didn't do such a good job. And like I said, if there's spots where you need to redo, you can pick up the paper if it's on the side and redo it. Okay. Let this go for just a little bit. Make sure it's tacky. Got something on there, so I'm going to make sure I got that off. You want to have a smooth surface. You don't want a piece of hair or anything on here because then that'll cause to show through on here. Okay. I think the thing about me is impatient. Sometimes not a very patient person. Okay, now we're just going to take this and we're going to lay it down. Get as close to the top as what we can. Use your hand to flatten as good as you can. I always use my hand first. Now I'm going to take my roller, roll it. I use the Mod Podge all the way to the bottom, and I wouldn't have to do that because what we're going to do is where it didn't fit, we are going to go and paint. So I didn't know how far to go down, so what I did was I just used the Mod Podge all the way down to the bottom. But that doesn't matter because we can turn around and got a little bubble right here. But that doesn't matter because it's part of the cutout of the R. So that'll be fine. Pretty good because you can see the R coming through here, the lines of the R coming through here. Oh, this looks good. We do have a little bit of a bubble here, but the bubble is actually where we're going to be cutting it out, so we should be just fine with that. Have it. And if there's any spots that will need to be, we can go around. If they need to get pasted, we'll just paste it once everything is cut out of here. So we have that finished. Now we are going to set this to the side and let this dry. We're going to try our board here, and that seems to be dry. So we'll show you what we're going to do next with this. Actually take a scissor, and what we're going to do is take a sharp scissor and we're going to cut along the sides right here. And if you miss anything, I try to stay maybe just a little further away because like I said, we are going to take our sandpaper and we're going to sand it a little bit. So So I'm going to take my scissor and get as close as I possibly can. And don't worry if we need to re-glue, we can do that as well. I like to cut some of the excess off so we don't have to worry about that hanging on the side. So first of all, we're going to cut as much of the excess off, and then before we start following the line. Like I said, don't worry what it looks like because that is all going to be taken care of. Just get to the close to the side as what you can, and if you can't get that close and you want to use your X-Acto knife, you can definitely do that. Stay a little bit further away from it if you're a little worried, and the rest will take care of itself. And if you do use an X-Acto knife, I'll show you how good that works. Have something that's on the bottom of the table so that you don't cut your table up. So what I have here is I have a piece of corkboard. I'll put this at the end here and I'll show you how sharp the X-Acto knife is. Lay it down and cut right along the side here. If you get too close, it actually cuts the wood. That's how sharp it is. So you have to be very careful with it. So now it looks like everything is looking pretty good. Got a couple spots here, but we're going to take those down and we are going to use our emery board when we're doing that. Take your emery board, and what you're going to do is you're just going to go like this along the side. And what that does is that's going to take off the paper that's left on the edge. It's going to kind of whiten it a little bit, but that's okay. So do that all the way along. Plus it's going to lay down any paper that's just kind of hanging there, and it's going to take that off. It's going to give it a nice looking edge. There are some places that need it a little bit more than others. What you can also do is if you want it to look a little bit more distressed, go a little bit further to the top when you're doing this. Instead of just staying on the sides, go a little bit further to the top. I'm going to have to do that with some of this here. And now we just have this side left. I find the emery boards, I really like to use those a lot because they're easy to control. And if you have a smaller section, you can get in with a smaller section. And now up on top here, there's a few places where we put a little bit too heavy a paint. And what we're going to do is we're just going to buff those out. And here it's a little rough, just because of the wood. So we can buff that out as well. It's good to wear an apron when you're doing this, especially if you're like me and you're kind of a messy person. Okay, now I'm going to sit back. I'm going to take a look at it and decide what I want to do here. I've got a couple spots. I'm going to run over this with the sandpaper, so I'm just going to get that taken care of. What I'm going to do here is I've got a couple spots that aren't laying down very good. It's just a couple little ones here. I'm going to take Mod Podge and actually just put it over the top of it. That'll help make that stay that way. And then I'm going to take a little piece of this and just kind of wipe it off a little bit. There. Now it should stay sticky, and we shouldn't have to worry about that part. There's another little one over here. Dab that a little bit. And again, just go over the top of it and just take off the white part of it. And that'll help that stay on there. There we go. Now I'm going to take the sandpaper, and what I want to do is I want to sand the top here just a little bit. Trying to give it that weathered look and so it's not so pink. And then it's also going to take care of some of the rough edges here. Now I could have sanded this before I put it on, but I figure why sand twice, because I want to sand the paper a little bit. Because I want that whiteness to come through. And then of course when you're done, wipe it off so that you don't have the dust and the residue from the sandpaper. And this is what Riley's looks like. Hers is the pink. And if you don't like the sides, I can see where I've got some glue here that came out. You can take your emery board, you can go along the side, take off that glue, or any little pieces of paper that you see, the construction paper. I'm not going to worry so much about this part right here that came off, because you're going to be having their homework on here anyway, so you're not going to see it that much. And if you do, it just kind of will match in with kind of the distressed look of everything else. So now what we did was we chose some princesses that we have here. And what we're going to do is we're going to tack 2 of them on each side right here.
Valley's Mobile Command Center is coming to a town near you. Stop in at Valley's Mobile Command Center to learn more about our services, see and test some of our products, ask questions, or just to visit with us. Make sure to check your newsletter for specific dates and times when we will be rolling into your town.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
Okay, we have one project completed here. We have the board that is completely done. We hot glued the 2 buttons that we found down here. What we did was we broke the button part off in the back, and then we hot glued this together. And this is going to be just like that, only this is for a little girl, Riley. Okay, now what I did was I cut along the lines here, and I took the X-Acto knife and I went around. But as you can see, there's little nubs that are sticking out here, little things that we need to knock down. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to take the emery board, and we are going to take those down. Rough it up. And like I said, it gets rid of some of the little mistakes that you've made that maybe nobody else can see but you. And in my house, I like things to look distressed. Not everybody does, but this just kind of fits right in there with the distressed look. Also, if there's any glue that's come out from the sides, once you use the emery board or you use the fine sandpaper, you can also get rid of that. That will also come off of there. And then remember, we've got this little spot down here yet that we have to take some pink paint after. And again, what you're going to want to do is find what your favorite colors are for the kids, and then go out and you can either look for just plain paint. You could even use spray paint, and you don't have to sit and brush paint it on. They really have some nice colors in spray paint these days that I've noticed. But they have so many nice different colors of scrapbooking paper nowadays. And a lot of times if you wait, you can find it on sale at a fairly good price. I kind of go to, when I'm looking to do projects, I will go to Joann's Fabrics and look to see what they have, because they do have different stuff than what Hobby Lobby has. So I kind of shop around. Also, there's times when Hobby Lobby will have certain items on sale, and I'll wait for those to come on sale if they're not when I want it. And the next time I go up to Bismarck, it is on sale, so then I can pick it up, because I know I'm going to use it sometime. I may not use it right away, but I'll be using it sometime. So I'll hop back and forth from Hobby Lobby to Joann's Fabrics and pick out what I need. Even if you have some spots that aren't overlapping that you need to get rid of, you just want to scrape the tops a little bit so that you can make it all look the same. Other than that, it's not going to, it won't match each other. Riley's, the R has a lot of angles here. What place is that? We want to knock off. And like I said, just get creative in what you want to do, and then start shopping around. Nowadays, when I say the word Hobby Lobby, it makes my husband a little nervous, because I can go in there and I can spend literally hours in the Hobby Lobby. They do have some really neat crafts and stuff in there. There, now I have it the way I want it, or at least somewhat the way I want it. If it's not exactly the way, I can always come back and do some different things with it. And now we're going to cut out Riley's picture. Kind of know where the placement is that you want to put the picture. And instead of gluing it, I used on Jaden's, and it worked real well, as double stick tape. Let's wipe this off. This has really got some pretty colors in this paper. Not only does it have pink, but it has the green and it has the blues and has a lot of pretty colors in there. Now what I'm going to do is to find my scissor. We're going to put this bad boy together. And cut out one of Riley's pictures from here. These are some cute pictures she took. Such a cutie. And we're going to see about where we want to place the picture. Once I've decided kind of where we want to place it, put these others to the side. And we're going to take the double stick tape. Easy enough projects and very inexpensive. Like I said, if you find something and you want to wait for it to come on sale, that is easy enough to do. Kind of decided where I want it, and now got Riley's picture on here. So now I'm going to kind of lay out the lettering a little bit. see for sure where I want it to go. R-Y-L-E and E. And of course, it has a little bit of the glitter on there. I'll put my first letter on there and then we will go from there. I'm going to use the hot glue gun over here. Usually burn myself once or twice or 10 times until I'm done. Once I get one letter placed, then it'll be a lot easier. I hate all this string that comes along with it. And with that, you only have so much time for placement, and then you got to put it down, and it stays. There's not much leeway that you have with hot glue. Kind of seeps out a little bit, but there's not a lot that you can do.
4G LTE is available now with Valley Cellular. We have new plans and new phones. Bring your own phone if you love your cell phone but not your cell phone provider. We can activate any compatible handset on our network. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
Here's where your angle brush will come in handy. We are just going to paint the bottoms here. And to make it easier, we could have done this before, because we knew that the bottoms and stuff were going to be needed. We could have just angled it up just a little bit. But beans, I forgot about it. Now we have to paint and be a little more careful of how we're doing it down here so that we don't get so far onto the paper. And our projects are almost completed. Like I said, just more dry time with paint than anything is what this takes. That's done, and one more side over here. Nowadays, with the different kinds of tissue papers and stuff that they had, you could almost do this with tissue paper. Although I think it would be a little bit harder to do because the scrapbooking paper is thicker than the tissue paper. And like I said, your best bet is to do this before you just paint so far up before you put your scrapbooking paper on here. And you glue it down. And there we go. You may want to paint it twice if you want it a little bit darker. Or you can leave it the way it is. And there you go. Here's the R for Riley. And we also have this completed. And we've got one more small project. And then we are done with this project. We have this right here. It's a little streaky. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double paint it. I'm gonna paint it again. And then what we'll do is we have one little little piece left here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we will insert it and we'll hot glue it down right like that. In fact, but I think instead of doing that, we're just going to take we are just going to take a little bit of our sandpaper. We're going to see what it looks like once we rough it up a little bit. See if we like it. If we don't, we can always go over the top of it. But I like to rough up the sides, the tops, the front. The back isn't as important. I'm going to rough that up just a little bit. On the sides, once you use the sandpaper, it brings out the wood. Coloring up on top here. And we'll take paper. I actually like it like this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the little girl that we have here who's dressed up in a little wedding outfit. They're little dress-up girls that we're using here. I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue and I'm just going to glue her right in the middle. So we're just going to use a little dab of hot glue here. And we're going to hot glue her right to the middle like that. Now, just like Jaden, we have Riley done. Here's Riley's R. Here is the place to hang her projects. And here is the other one to hang her projects. Thank you for watching Just Crafting Around. Be sure and come back next month, when we have another project that we're going to show you. Our next episode, we do have somebody who is going to be coming in, Lisa Oxner, and she is going to show us a craft project that she's got. So be sure and stay tuned. Thank you.